Here, blood on the floor, on a door, and on bed sheets.
Just could you talk a little bit about that, about the crime scene?
Well, there's going to be hundreds of photographs taken. When we arrive at a scene like this, we're going to confer with the first arriving police officers and have a briefing with them as to what took place. Me as the CSI or any CSI would confer with those first officers on what did they do? What did people tell them? What did they see? Have they altered the crime scene in any manner? And then you're going to be documenting everything that you're talking about and the information that they're giving you. And after that, you're going to put on your PPE, you're going to enter the crime scene, and you're going to take a walkthrough of the crime scene, being careful not to disturb or alter any evidence. And you're going to be documenting in written notes, extensive written notes about what it is that you're seeing, and the types of evidence and their locations. All that is going to be done in written notes. In addition, you're going to be doing a rough hand sketch of the crime scene. And once that's all completed, hopefully there were detectives that were also on scene, because they typically arrive before the crime scene investigators do as well. And then you brief with them, you come back outside, you tell them exactly what it is you saw, what you felt was pertinent and valuable to the criminal investigation, the victims, their positions, their injuries, their wounds, and the types of evidence that are present. Then you're going to explain to them how you're going to process the scene, and you plan with your partner to change your PPE, in this case booties and gloves, and then re-enter the crime scene, taking long-range photographs starting from the exterior of the location, take around the entire exterior of the location, and then work your way in. Typically, the way I would do it is I would try to identify which way the bad guy got in and enter taking photographs from that route, follow, then document all of the, in this case, multiple floors of the scene with overall photographs. So each room, I'll take 4 corner shots overlapping the images from each corner so that I can get a 360-degree view of the interior of the rooms that I'm in with my overall photographs. Then I'll do that for all the rooms. Once I complete that, then I'll do medium range photographs without scales and numbers in the rooms where evidence is located. Once I complete that for all the rooms, then I'll lay down evidence numbers next to items of evidence that I'm going to collect and package. After I do that, I'm going to take those medium range photographs again and then take close up with and without scales and numbers of all the items of evidence. If I have bloodstain pattern analysis that I need to perform, well, I'll have to do that typically after our victims have been removed, and I'll have to safeguard those locations to make sure nobody alters them. I'm also going to do the same thing with the victims. I'm going to take detailed photographs of the victims as in situ as they lay, and then head to toe, toe to head, left side, right side, the back of the victim, the front of the victim. And I usually do this in connection with the medical legal death investigators from the medical examiner's office or the coroner's office, with them being present so that we work these bodies together, the bodies of the victims. The standard is photographs, still photos. You can take video as a supplement to photographs, but not in place of photographs. So yes, you can take video of the crime scene. And also, before those victims are altered in any manner, they should also be 3D laser scanned before that occurs as well.
So with the tripods, as we saw outside, those female crime scene investigators from the Idaho State Crime Lab, they had the tripod set up with the Faro 3D laser scan on the outside of 1122. I'll show the photograph here. We saw them out here in between Kaylee's car and this blue vehicle here.
We saw them on the street in the back of the house with the laser scanner.
So they'll take that same tripod with the Faro 3D laser scanner and go through the entire home. And we had Luke from Faro at the time came in and gave us a demonstration. Can you just tell the audience what we're going to look at as I add it to the stream?
Yeah, absolutely. So this was a crime scene that was documented with a Faro 3D laser scanner. It is a shooting that occurred in a barbershop. Male was shot within the barbershop, and the responding police department had a Faro scanner and went in and scanned the entire barbershop to reconstruct it. So this is what we call a fly-through video, right? It is a good representation or way to look at the entire scene as a whole. So this is a top-down view on the entire crime scene. So if the jury has a hard time, or the district attorney has a hard time visualizing what that scene looked like with regular traditional photos, you could play this video in court and they could see the entire scene and kind of get better spatial relations to where things occurred. This is whatever path you choose to create it. So it could be a head height walkthrough of the facility. It could be an overhead like this. It could be whatever path you choose.
Folks, what you're looking at here, the scanner wasn't up this high. The scanner was in that scene. Okay. The scanner has the ability with the software to, cut the roof off, the ceiling off, and give you a perspective as from flying in from above. So that's what you're basically looking at here. And as the actual floor plan of this barbershop or this beauty salon, whatever it is there, it's rotating through it. And you can see what you're looking at is not a photograph. Okay, you may think that's a photograph.
That's why it looks kind of granular or grainy, because it's individual measurable points, millions and millions of them.
So you get the colors and you get the surfaces and you get the 3 dimensions of the cabinets and the mirrors and the sinks and the chairs and all that. But it's not a photograph. It's just the millions and millions of measurements put together.
If a jury put on those 3D goggles, it's almost like being at that crime scene.
And since you keep bringing up the tripod, what you should also know is that you need to put protective bags over the bottom of the tripod legs when you enter the crime scene. Obviously, we decontaminate our tripods if we bring it into a crime scene after each crime scene. But if you're going into a extremely bloody crime scene, you're going to put protective Ziploc bags over each of the tripod legs. And then if they get contaminated, if those bags get contaminated, then you swap them out for clean bags and move on to the next location so that you're not transferring any blood from room to room or whatever the case may be.
You were talking about working hand in hand with the medical examiner's office and the legal medical death investigators. At that point, around 9:30 is when these kids' bodies were removed and brought to the medical examiner's office. So what happens leading up from 12 noon all the way to 9:30 at night?
The process, the hands will be bagged. After the examinations are done, all your injuries are going to be documented. We have what's called a body sheet. So we have a diagram of bodies, and we're going to mark all the wounds and injuries on all of the victims. And if there are clothing worn, we're going to document all the knife damage to the clothing, the defects caused by the knife to the clothing, and then correlate them to the various injuries and wounds on the victims. And we'll have a complete list of all of those things. We're going to bag the hands with paper bags to protect what may be underneath the fingernails, because we do not do fingernail scrapings at the scene. We'll do that back at the morgue just before the autopsy and before the bodies are actually cleaned. Then we'll do the bloodstain pattern analysis. If it was appropriate, we'll run strings to show the directionality and the points of two-dimensional and three-dimensional convergence as to where in the space the blood was let from. I saw several stains there that were just very indicative of 90-degree blood drops dropping off of maybe a bloody object. Could be the knife, or it could be a wound that is slowly dripping blood with no greater force than gravity onto the floor of the rooms. I saw what could appear to be arterial spatter on a wall. I saw other types of trace transfer, blood stains. So all of these stains would have to be identified, and the type of stain it is, and its location documented, and what it means. Like, for instance, this stain right here on the door. Well, those are 90-degree blood drops on the floor, but this one right here, that one with the lower one, you see it has the telltale elliptical shape with looks like an exclamation point. So that's telling me that the blood came from above down and to the right on the door. So at the time that blood was left on that door, it would appear the door was opened, not in this closed position. And then there's what's also some of the stains I saw would appear to be, it's called cast off. And you know, if you look back, if you go back into our old videos, you'll see one of the Forensic Fridays that we did on bloodstain pattern analysis and how the bloodstains occur. And so this is what I was talking about, finding the two-dimensional points of origin. So we have these 4 bloodstains, and they're elliptical, and they're telling me the direction is from left to right. Now, what we do is we're able to draw a line, not through the blood, but at the end of the blood and in front of the blood, and then draw these lines out with a straight edge to find out if they merge. And if they merge like this, then A is your two-dimensional point of origin for where those stains came from. Now, later on, we're going to do some calculations to determine the angle of impact on this surface to get the three-dimensional area of conversions.
I feel like I'm in a classroom.
You are all in there, so you can go back and review those to see how these stains would be left. Now, these handprints.
This is a party house, Ed. You could see the white powder, and people were questioning what that white powder is. Can you just...
I don't know if that's fingerprint powder or if it's just a dirty window, and these are what we call void print patterns, meaning the window was already dirty, and then hands touched it and removed the dirt and dust that were there onto their hands, because I see no indication of fingerprint tape being utilized on any of these handprints.
So this potentially could have nothing to do with the crime scene. This could be from in the past, potentially. We're not saying definitely.
Yeah, well, there's no way to put a time frame on this unless we can figure out the last time these windows were cleaned. But saying that, and you know, you would have to look at a ton of photographs. There's a lot of parties in this house, so you would have to gather up a lot of photographs from the parties. But again, it's a void pattern where you could see the dust was removed from the window surface as opposed to fingerprint powder being applied. Because if this was a fingerprint powder and then there's no indication that fingerprint tape was placed over this. See, now if you do oblique lighting, you know, I can't tell if there's any ridge detail here on any of this.
Kitchen photo, again, we're looking at the sliding glass door. We don't know if obviously Kohberger left that door open. Everyone's speculating that he did leave that door open, but the amount of people that were inside that house, and we know Hunter took a knife from that kitchen and walked around inside that house with a knife on him from the kitchen. Did somebody open that door up after the fact, or was it left open?
You would have to look into the reports to see how it was found.
Correct.
You have to look at the interviews of all the occupants that were in the house before the police got there.
Then when we saw photos of police from the news, this was shut. Remember, there was the tape over it, shut. Remember, Ed? There was tape here, tape here, tape here. And there was a cop on the outside guarding this door. At the end of the day, I mean, we'll never know exactly what it is until we glean and read all the reports. But what was sad about inside that kitchen, it says, "This is our happy place." And it was right above the kitchen sink. And that broke my heart to read that and see that.
Without having context to when this photo was taken and who took it, I find those footprints in the snow very interesting because they're going in both directions. There's some coming in and there's some leaving. So there's a question here by Ali. Ed, how would you collect footprint castings in the snow? Okay, well, first we're going to photograph it with and without scales and as to where it is. And then we're going to set up a tripod right over the footprint. And we're going to take close-up photographs of the footprint with and without scales. Then we're going to use oblique lighting techniques with our flash, and we're going to take the flash off the camera and tether it by a cable to the hot shoe, and then at oblique angles we're going to shoot the left side, the right side, the heel to toe, toe to heel, to create 3D casting of the light to create shadows. And then what we do is, if there's enough ridge detail present in the snow, we'll take what's called snow print. It's a wax in a spray can, and we'll lightly spray the wax over the footwear impression and let it drop into the footwear impression and create a wax coating. Then we'll mix dental stone, very similar to what the dentist uses to make impressions of your teeth, and we'll pour the dent stone into the wax that we sprayed in there, and then we'll let it harden and cure, and then we'll lift it, package it. We'll bring it to the laboratory, unpackage it, and clean up the surface with some soap water and a brush.